We're back for our daily college basketball best bets here on Saturday, February 14th. Yesterday, a great day on the channel as we go 4-1, hitting on everything except for Michigan State going into Madison and laying an egg against the Wisconsin Badgers. Other than that, yesterday, though, a great day for us as Manhattan doesn't just cover on the road. No, they win outright against the Niagara Purple Eagles. Another victory for us in the Metro Atlantic with one Iona as the Gales go on the road and beat Canisius and cover the 5 points. They end up winning by 6. Miami of Ohio in a great spot for that team. They are still undefeated, the only undefeated team left in college basketball. They go out and beat the Ohio Bobcats by more than 9.5 points. Again, only undefeated team left in college basketball in the Mac's first ever game live on ESPN. Miami of Ohio takes care of business, put them in the tournament regardless if they win the conference tournament or not. And then to close the night, I mean, we've seen some crazy games this year. This is up there. It's not the craziest game, obviously, because that'll forever go to Fresno State versus UNLV, but North Carolina A&T versus the Hampton Pirates, the NBA HBCU Classic. What a game and what a victory for North Carolina A&T. They lead at the start of the game 3-0. They don't lead again until 4 seconds left to go. A reverse layup and one for North Carolina A&T to give them the victory. Hampton misses a wide open runner slash floater for the more of a floater for the game. Misses. It's halfway into the net. Pops back out. NCAA wins. We had the points, but still a miraculous comeback for the Aggies as Hampton turned the ball over on back-to-back possessions up by 6 because they couldn't break a full court press. It was unbelievable. North Carolina A&T covers what a late night game. That one finished at about 11 o'clock here on the West Coast. Again, the Aggies closed the night for us, making it a 4-1 day. Now, folks, before we get into our picks for today's college basketball slate, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more daily college basketball best bets. Today, we've got all power matchups, all Power 5 matchups, with the exception of potentially the biggest game of the year at the mid-major level. And, well, both these teams really aren't mid-majors. We'll get into that at the very end of the video. You can probably take a wild guess what that game is. Again, hit that subscribe button down below for more. Later today, we're going to have our All-Star Saturday night predictions. So, of course, that is the Shooting Stars Challenge. That is the three-point contest. And that is the Slam Dunk Contest. We're going to have our best bets for those later today on the channel. Not going to want to miss that. Again, dropping in just a few hours. And also, on Greedo Plays MMA today, our UFC Fight Night Houston full card predictions. Sean Strickland taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez in the main event in the Toyota Center this Saturday. Our full card predictions are dropping later today at noon over on Greedo Plays MMA. Okay, on to the first now of our 5 best bets, and we are kicking things off with a bang. You saw it in the thumbnail. I think I'm putting it in the thumbnail. The biggest game of the day by far for me, and it's always when the Jayhawks are playing, but it is the absolute truth. The Kansas Jayhawks on the road in Ames taking on the Iowa State Cyclones. I do not care. Give me Kansas. I'm considering money line, but you know what? I'm getting 6.5 on the road with Kansas. I'm going to take the 6.5 points. Last time we had Kansas on the road, they played Texas Tech. They didn't just cover, they won outright. Hopefully Kansas falls in the footsteps of the Jaspers of Manhattan, of Iona yesterday. Well, Manhattan and North Carolina A&T were both dogs that didn't just cover, they won. I'm hoping Kansas can do the same, but ultimately I could care less, honestly, if the Cyclones win the game by 6. Actually, I kind of want Kansas to win, just so my narrative of them going to the Final Four continues, which I still believe is happening, by the way. And Kansas, again, that's how highly I think of this team. To me, this is a top 4 team, or eventually will be a top 4 team in the country when it's all said and done. That's just another way of saying they're going to be in the Final Four. I believe it, though. I really think in a tournament, or in the NCAA tournament, I don't know. It's going to be really hard to beat this team. And they are coming off of the biggest momentum boosting game you can come up with. Obviously, we knew their schedule was going to be tough. They had Arizona at home in Lawrence, and they win in Allen Fieldhouse by 4 points without Darren Peterson. And that's very important. I don't believe Kansas plays better without Darren Peterson, but it goes to show just how good this team is. Darren Peterson gets ruled out of that game 5 minutes before tip. I saw the notification from ESPN on my phone, and I thought to myself, oh, we're screwed. Nope. Kansas is trailing most of that game until, 6 minutes left to go. And the Jayhawks pull it off, winning the game by 4. I mean, Flory Bidunga, what a game. 23-10. He goes 7 for 9 from the free throw line. That is a masterful performance for the Jayhawks center. Bryson Tiller, the true freshman, 18 points, 7 for 13 from the field, 8 boards, hit 2 big three-pointers in that game. Tiller stepped up in a big way, and obviously he's done it all year long. Melvin Council Jr. doesn't come off the court, 23 points on 6 of 25 shooting, but again, he facilitates the offense, had 6 assists and 6 boards, so 23, 6, and 6 for Council. Hopefully just have better production tonight. Trey White didn't do much, scored 4 points on 1 of 6 shooting. It's okay. Darren Peterson's back. And when the lineup's playing like this, and they play, I mean, guys, we're going to see a 7-man rotation. That's what Kansas is going to do. Right? We're going to get Jamari McDowell, and we're going to get Marco Jackson off the bench. That's it. And it's going to be obviously their starting lineup of White and Council, Peterson, Tiller, Badunga. But when all 5 of those guys are on the court, and usually, well, those first 4 are on the court, or the 4 not named Darren Peterson are on the court. Obviously, Peterson, it's just some nights dependent on the game. Peterson's playing. Everything indicates that Darren Peterson is good to go. I mean, it was an illness that held him out of the Arizona game. Kansas has already said, Bill Self has already said, Peterson is playing today against the Cyclones. Let's not forget the last time these two teams met in Lawrence. It was the game that changed Kansas's season. They were coming off a road loss in Morgantown against WVU. They had lost in Orlando a couple games prior against UCF, and they beat undefeated Iowa State, who was ranked 2nd in the country, and they beat them by 21 points. It wasn't a competition, and since then, the Jayhawks have not lost a game, and we have continued to just keep tailing everything Kansas has been doing as of late, except for one game in Boulder. But the read was right, okay? Like, I still will remain adamant that Colorado should have covered that game if they called the flagrant on Melvin Council, but whatever. It's neither here or there, or the technical. It's okay. Kansas has been great for us. The BYU win at home. The going to Tech and covering and obviously winning. Beating Arizona. First team all year long to beat Arizona, obviously to make Miami the only undefeated team left in the country. And when Badunga's playing like he's playing right now, Council all year long, the improved shooting, and Bryson Tiller, who's the 5th option in the starting lineup, has seen a great increase in production recently. My goodness, are they dangerous. I mean, we've heard, media talk heads all year long talk about the point, well, Bryson Tiller on a traditional Kansas team and Kansas teams of the past. I mean, Bryson Tiller is probably not playing until his junior year. I mean, maybe, I guess. He's playing pretty well as a true freshman. I get it. The point with that is, Kansas isn't as deep as they used to be. Bryson Tiller is one hell of a basketball player. Right? And again, as a true freshman at 18, 19 years old, he's been doing phenomenal stuff this year for the Jayhawks. So I've talked all this talk about Kansas. Obviously, Iowa State we are picking against today. The Cyclones have not lost at home all year long, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, all their losses have come on the road, Texas Christian, Kansas, and Cincinnati. I don't need, I don't care if Kansas wins or not. I hope they win, but we don't necessarily need that. We just need the game to be competitive. Last home game for Iowa State, Baylor went in there and played them tight. The 3-9 in the Big 12 Baylor Bears went into Ames and played them to a very tight game. Iowa State wins. They get it by 3, but it's competitive. Iowa State's coming off an L. They went to TCU. Texas Christian pulls away in the end. The Horned Frogs win the game by 7 points. I'm not that big on Iowa State right now, guys, and we've seen this game, and I understand it is much different playing at Allen Fieldhouse than it is at home for the Cyclones in Ames. I completely understand. It's not even, you're playing a different sport at that point, sure. I'm still going with the Jayhawks here. I don't really care where they are and where they're playing. This is translating everywhere to me. Truly. This is translating everywhere. Darren Peterson's playing tonight. Flory Badunga has been playing like one of the best bigs in college basketball, and that's the truth. Right? Trey White, and we'll see. Melvin Council's been phenomenal, right? Trey White can still hoop. Trey White can score. Do not get me wrong, but Melvin Council's been so great. And Bryson Tiller. When you have your 5th option, Bryson Tiller, who I believe is only a 30% three-point shooter this season, but the way he's been shooting recently and the way that they have seen Tiller continue to step up, that's your 5th option? That's your 5th scorer? That's just, the other guy who starts for you? Man, I really am on this Jayhawks team. Don't need them to win, just need them to cover. Don't forget, they beat Iowa State the first time by 21 points. And sure, the Cyclones went on to win 6 consecutive games after that. I know they haven't lost a game at home all year long. They've played tight games at home. I get it. Milan's good, averaging 18.5. Joshua Jefferson is very good as well. He's averaging 17. I get it. There are good players on Iowa State. The truth is, though, there are better players on Kansas. And that's the simplest way I can put it. Again, Milan's good. Joshua Jefferson's good. Lipsy's a really good player as well. Obviously, he's dealt with some injuries this season. But those are great guys. Kansas has better players. I'm taking talent over everything here, and I'm taking the more talented team on the road that has all this momentum, has not lost since the original matchup between these two teams. And again, that team with the momentum who just beat the undefeated #1 team ranked in the country, I'm going to take them who are getting points on the road. I don't care that it's in Ames. I think Kansas can travel and play everywhere right now. They're not, there's no demons of, they're not scared of the road now, like, when they were against UCF and in Morgantown against WVU. Absolutely, give me the Jayhawks here. I am all over this Kansas team going to Iowa State and beating the Cyclones. But again, we're going to take the 6.5 points for the purpose of the best bet video. Okay, on now to our second best bet of the day, -140 for the Xavier Musketeers. Okay, if you don't like it, take -2. But the official best bet we are doing is -140 for Xavier at home. I'm going to continue to fade Marquette. And again, we said it at the beginning of the video, only big-time matchups today. Well, Power 5 matchups. This is, it's a game in the Big East. It's not a notable one, but it's happening. It's a game that will happen today. I can guarantee you that. This game will be played in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm going to go with the Musketeers at home. I understand both these teams have been losing quite a bit recently. I think Marquette sucks more. Is that harsh? It's the truth. I think Marquette sucks more than Xavier. I think Xavier has played decent basketball recently. Completely try to forget about the UConn game. Think about the two St. John's games they play. I get it's Pitino versus Pitino, and Xavier goes to New York and almost beats St. John's. They take them to overtime. The initial game that was played in Cincinnati, Xavier almost got as well. They played them tight twice. And that's what you can expect, obviously, with father and son coaching two Big East teams in a conference game or conference games. Okay, Xavier beats DePaul at home. I know it's DePaul, but Marquette is bottom of the barrel this season in the Big East, so there's that. DePaul actually has a better record than both these teams, and Xavier was able to beat the Blue Demons 68-66. They do lose to UConn. We can forget about that. The Huskies, #1 team, obviously, in the conference. I know St. John's beat them, but still, we believe UConn's the best team in the Big East. St. John's is good, do not get me wrong. And then, obviously, recently, Xavier played St. John's, and they almost beat them. Again, took them to overtime. They lost. I don't care. The game's close, and Xavier's playing better basketball. There is momentum here for the Musketeers, and oh, by the way, they're at home. How bad has Marquette been this season? We keep detailing it, but it's the absolute truth. They have been absolutely awful all year long, and I believe it's going to continue again tonight. They're coming off of a loss on the road at Villanova, a competitive game, but they lose, and that's been the thing. They lose a lot of these close games, especially on the road. When's the last time this team's gone on the road and won? Have they won on the road all year long? I don't think they actually have. They haven't. I could have sworn they won a non-conference game on the road, but I guess they didn't. Because they played Oklahoma on a neutral site and they lost. They haven't won a road game all season. Why are we expecting this to be the first? I know these two teams have played before. They played on January 7th, and it was a victory for the Marquette Golden Eagles. It's one of their 4 victories in the Big East. They won by 1 point at home. They won by 1 point at home. They barely survived in the very end. They were losing with a minute to go, and Marquette came back and won. They were leading for most of the game, do not get me wrong. But, right, Xavier, it might have been Xavier's first lead they took with a minute left to go, and Marquette ended up prevailing. They won the game by 1 point. That game's in Wisconsin. This time we're playing it in Ohio. I think we get more than a 1 point swing, obviously, with this game being played at a different spot. And again, let's detail how the Golden Eagles and Shaka Smart's team has played away from Milwaukee, Wisconsin this season. In the Big East, or just the entire season. In Chicago, they played the Indiana Hoosiers, and that's when I started to feel really good about the DeVries era in Bloomington. Indiana beat this team by 23 points. Okay, Oklahoma plays Marquette in Chicago. Oklahoma beats Marquette. They go to West Lafayette. They get bitched by Purdue. They go to Creighton, lose by 20-plus points. UConn, L. DePaul, L. St. John's, L. Indianapolis to Butler, L by 11. Seton Hall, L by 5. Nova, competitive game, L. Their wins, Butler by 15 at home. Providence in that overtime game. I had Marquette, not complaining. There were some very questionable calls, but whatever, I will not complain. That was the national championship day in terms of college football national championship day, if you couldn't tell. Xavier by 1 point. Those are lost wins. Butler by 15, great. You barely get by Creighton, who's awful. Creighton's equally as awful as Marquette right now. Providence by 1 point without Jason Edwards playing. Xavier by 1 point at home. And what's their last win before that? Let's go back to December 2nd, where they beat Valparaiso by 3. Give me Xavier. I don't care that they've won one out of their last 6 games. It's how you're playing going into this one. And if anything, there is positive momentum for Xavier because they just played St. John's close twice in a row. Sure, you would have liked to win both those games. I understand. But I think they get this one. Trey Carroll obviously leads the scoring most nights for the Musketeers. He's averaging 18, just dropped 21 in the last St. John's game. Dropped 31 in the first matchup against the Red Storm. Carroll, obviously a 3-year player at Florida Atlantic. He's been great this season. You've got the former New Mexico guys, obviously at Xavier as well with Patino, obviously Patino Jr., or the younger son. Coming from New Mexico, that phenomenal New Mexico team last season. Patino brings on over Jovan Milikovic. He brings on Filip Borikoven as well. Milikovic, second leading scorer for Xavier. Borikoven, leading rebound getter and leading assist getter for Xavier as he averages 10, 8, and 4 this year. And how about Malik Messina Moore, who's been pretty good in spots this season for this team too, averaging 11 points per game in his senior year. Senior out of California, played 2 years for the Wave of Pepperdine, one last year with the Montana Grizzlies with Money Williams, and now on over with, of course, Xavier for his senior season. It's a good team, man. It's a good team when they put it all together. I shouldn't say just straight up they're a good team. When they put it all together, they are a decent squad, and they've just been playing good teams and losing recently. At home this year, they've been better at least than they've been on the road. I believe all their victories except for one in the Big East has been at home. Yeah, they beat Providence, Butler, and DePaul at home. They did go to Georgetown earlier in the year and beat the Hoyas over in D.C. I like Xavier in the spot. I like Xavier to beat a bad basketball team in Marquette. I understand they're both lower in the standings in the Big East Conference this season in a 3-bid conference this year. It's just the truth, unless we get a bid stealer. But who's going to steal a bid this year in the Big East? Who's not going to win this thing if it's not UConn? And I guess if it's not UConn, and then it's St. John's. And if it's not them, it's Villanova. Who the hell else can win the Big East this season? There's nobody. Seriously. What? Is Georgetown going to make a run this year? I hope, but it's not going to happen, right? It's a 3-bid conference. That's fine. I'm taking Xavier here to beat Marquette. The Golden Eagles have just been that horrible. You know, shout out to Nigel James. He's been playing well, but this team sucks. Okay, I'm going Marquette at home. Sorry, going to Xavier at home. My goodness. Give me the Musketeers at -140. If you don't like it, take the 2.5. And next we move to the Big Ten. I know it's -145. Bear with me here. Again, take the 2.5. Actually, DraftKings has Purdue at -1.5, at -145 for the money line. That doesn't make sense, but whatever. That'll play, I guess. We're taking Purdue money line. I'm sure this is going to move. As of 1 o'clock in the morning, it's at -145 for Purdue. Got to imagine this is going to close around -130-ish. I'm, again, imagining that there's going to be money coming in on the home team in Bennett Sturts and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Unless Purdue forgets how to play basketball today, they should win. That is the truth. You know, I'm not a Purdue fan, obviously. I'm not a Purdue guy at all. But I do realize that they are much better than Iowa. And I've watched Iowa's last 2 games. Not impressed. Bennett Sturts, obviously, barely ever comes off the court for the Hawkeyes. He does all of their scoring. If you can stop Bennett Sturts, Iowa does not know what the hell to do. And that's the truth. Iowa currently projected to be an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament. Bracketology has them matched up against A&M in the first round. I would take Iowa to win that, but still, just because I'm going to usually lean Big Ten over SEC. But anyways, Iowa's coming off a horrible loss at Maryland. You just can't take that. You're losing at Maryland by 7 points. Bennett Sturts puts up 32 because he's their entire team. But I mean, you're a -600 favorite on the road. You are a 10.5 point favorite as well on the spread, and you lose outright to Maryland. Yikes. Iowa had won, 6 consecutive games. They went to Bloomington and beat Indiana, blew out Indiana, beat Rutgers, beat SC, went to Oregon, dominated the Ducks. The Ducks suck, but went to UW. We cashed with them covering the spread against the Huskies. Won at home against Northwestern where they didn't cover. Thanks, guys. Bennett Sturts scored 36. Nobody else helped them, but it's okay. And then they lose at Maryland. But again, not really impressed with the Northwestern game. They couldn't get away from that team. I don't care. Oh, they still won. We have the spread, so I have the right to be upset about their performance. But the Maryland game's even worse. You got to go on the road and win that game. And now Iowa, okay, 3 straight huge games. I mean, massive matchups. I don't think Iowa falls out of the tournament. I think it'd be very difficult for them to do so, obviously. They would probably have to lose out to miss the tournament at this point. Even though, like, they're non-con, I mean, I guess they beat Ole Miss, they beat Xavier, and they beat GCU, I guess, is their non-con strength of schedule. And obviously, they have Big Ten victories as well, so I get it. But this 3-game set, I mean, there's a legitimate chance that Iowa drops their next 3 games, which would make 4 in a row. Purdue tonight, Tuesday at home against Nebraska. I know the Boilermakers just beat Nebraska. I'll get to that in a little bit in a second. And then they go to Wisconsin. All of a sudden, you don't want to see Wisconsin in the tournament. I mean, the 3 straight wins that they put together, the 3 out of 4 they put together, especially the last 2. I mean, couldn't beat the Hoosiers, but that's neither here or there. I mean, Wisconsin back-to-back wins over top 10 teams. You don't want to see them in March. I mean, now I got to feel like Wisconsin's a 7 at least now. I don't think they're an 8 anymore. Iowa for now is an 8, and they're playing Purdue. Purdue currently obviously slated for a high seed. I think they're slated for a 2 currently. Bracketology has Purdue as a 2 seed. They're supposed to match up. They're going to match up currently with the Horizon League's Wright State in the first round. I wonder how that one's going to work. Hey, I'm old. I was actually once at an Indiana Wright State game where Wright State had Indiana on the ropes going into the second half once upon a time. That was the Mike Woodson era, the latter end of the Mike Woodson era with Khalil Ware and his inability to make free throws. Anyways, Purdue on the road against Iowa. Guys, I got to take Purdue. This team's too good. I understand they lost back-to-back games to Illinois and to the Hoosiers, but I mean, that's going to happen. I mean, who's your daddy, right? I mean, Indiana's going to go and beat them in Mackey in about a week, right? I guess that game's on Friday. Yeah, I mean, Purdue's got to play Michigan, and they got to come off that and immediately play Indiana? I mean, come on, that's danger. Just saying. We'll take Indiana spread. But still, right, like Purdue loses back-to-back to Illinois, 3 straight to UCLA, Illinois, and Indiana. They do win 3 in a row, though, Maryland, Oregon, and Nebraska. I thought they were going to choke that game against the Huskers. I really thought they were going to choke it. Yeah, that was bad. Purdue's in control that entire game. Nebraska goes on their run. Mast has, an 8-0 run essentially by himself. If he hits the free throw at the end of regulation, Nebraska wins it. Purdue finds a way to get that game into overtime. Well, because Rick Mast missed the extra point. The and one. Purdue wins the game in overtime. Fletcher Lawyer shot 4 for 17 from beyond the arc. He did lead them in scoring, but I mean, yikes. Braden Smith, who's usually the most automatic mid-range bucket in college basketball, at least in the Big Ten, shot 5 for 15 and 3 for 9 from beyond the arc. It was, just a rough night for Purdue. Just a rough night. They still won. Second half was more rough. But again, you go and beat Nebraska, you find a way to win. Trey Kaufman ran, by the way, 19 boards. I got to believe they're going to beat Iowa. An Iowa team I'm just not impressed with right now. Yes, Bennett Sturts is amazing. Bennett Sturts can score 30-plus on any given night, 100%. The rest of the team, though, okay? Fulgares, Tavian Banks, it's just Bennett Sturts. It is all Sturts all game long. And also, too, I don't know how Iowa's going to deal with this big play. Again, Alvaro Fulgares is going to do a lot of that big play, but I mean, he's going to be down low against Trey Kaufman Wren, against Oscar Clough. I mean, Oscar Clough obviously with the huge, massive and 1 bucket in overtime against Nebraska. Those are 2 really good bigs, and you got to deal with those guys all night long. And assuming Braden Smith has a better night. I mean, Braden Smith shoots 42% from beyond the arc. Again, the most consistent, or if not, one of the, if not the most consistent mid-range shooter in all of college basketball. Fletcher Lawyer's not playing, to get friend zoned anymore. If you saw that, that was insane. But Fletcher Lawyer was playing in front of his friend, just his friend, his childhood friend. And in the Nebraska game, maybe he was folding under pressure a little bit. Still got friend zoned after the fact, but he's not playing in front of his, in front of his friend tonight. So I think we're good here on Purdue. I'm just, again, a little concerned how Iowa is going to deal with this big play. I think Purdue's going to be a pretty easy victory in this spot. Don't expect Braden Smith to play, and Fletcher Lawyer for that matter, to shoot this poorly again. Kaufman Wren and Oscar Clough should be a pretty big victory for the Boilermakers. I believe they go into Iowa and win. I don't think just Bennett Sturts is able to lift Iowa out of this likely hole they're going to find themselves in. I'm taking Purdue to dominate the basketball game. Boilermakers put together back-to-back huge road victories in Nebraska and in Iowa City. Give me the Boilermakers to walk into Hawkeye Arena and beat the Iowa Hawkeyes, minus 145 on the money line. If you don't like it, just take the spread. On now to our 4th best bet of the video. The SEC. Missouri versus Texas. If this is a trap, I'm going to fall into it. I'm going to take Missouri. I'm going to take Missouri. This is best bet number 5. This is last on the list, okay? It's still in the top 5, But I will say I got close to instead just taking the New Jersey Institute of Technology versus Maine today. I really want to run it back with the Highlanders, but I decided to do this game instead, okay? I got close, I will tell you that. And I thought about taking Wichita at home against Tulsa, but I just can't do it. I do not trust the Shockers with anything. So, again, it was really between this game and NJIT versus the Maine Black Bears. I believe New Jersey, the New Jersey Institute of Technology should easily win that basketball game, but instead, I'm going to go with this instead of banking on the fact the Highlanders can go on back-to-back road victories in the span of 3 days. So, give me Missouri at home against Texas. Missouri 7-4 in the SEC, 17-7 as a whole, taking on Texas, who's 6-5 in the conference and 15-9 this season. If the tournament were to start today, Missouri, currently according to ESPN, is the final team in. They are the final team in the first four, as currently they would be matched up to go to Dayton and play the San Diego State Aztecs. I don't know who wins that game. I don't know. I've been kind of very vocal about, we don't need 20 teams in the SEC in the tournament. But I think I would take Missouri to beat San Diego State. Texas, Texas currently also in the first four, so this is a huge game for the bubble. They'd be projected to play USC. USC would beat Texas. They would. In a neutral site, USC wins that basketball game. But regardless, right, huge bubble game. Winner of this game potentially maybe finds himself into the last four in, or, and the loser for the time being probably finds themselves out of the first four for the time being and in the first four out. So massive game on the bubble. Obviously still a bunch of college basketball left to play. We still have about a month left of the regular season, sure, but still the bubble matters, and this is a massive game for it right now. Texas and Missouri in a must-win spot for both teams. I'm taking the Missouri Tigers, who have now put together 4 wins in their last 5 games, beating Oklahoma by 1 point, losing in Tuscaloosa against Alabama, but 3 consecutive victories at home against the Bulldogs of Mississippi State, on the road against the Gamecocks of South Carolina, and on the road beating Texas A&M in a massive game, getting that one by 1 point against the Aggies. They've put together some huge victories. A&M, by the way, currently, I believe, projected to be an 8 or a 9, I think, in the tourney. Could be wrong, but I believe that's where A&M's currently. I think they have A&M as a 9. They have A&M as a 9 right now, playing Iowa. Oh, we just went over that. Anyways. Whoops. I'm gonna take Missouri here. I'm taking Missouri. We'll just get down to it. I'm taking Missouri to beat Texas. I'm looking at Missouri, the games that they played. Texas, again, 3 consecutive victories in their own right, going to Oklahoma and winning, beating South Carolina at home and beating Ole Miss on the road, or at home. I think home court plays a huge difference in this game. And the fact that Missouri is finally hot, I know they've had their bad stretches throughout the course of the regular season, but at home, for the most part, this team has been pretty good. Like, you look at this entire year for Missouri, for the most part, they play good basketball at home, right? I mean, their only loss at home all year long is Georgia, and Georgia beat them by 2 points. Other than that, so far in the conference, Florida, they beat at home. They beat Auburn at home. They beat Oklahoma. They beat Mississippi State. Some of those teams aren't the best, but they are winning against these squads. They beat Minnesota, if you care, earlier in the year in Missouri as well, and they put up 83 points, 83-60 against the Golden Gophers back then. Right? Missouri's got players. Mark Mitchell, obviously the star of the team. Mitchell averaging 17-6 this season. Is coming off an only a 9-point performance against Texas A&M. Mitchell, obviously, right, the former Duke Blue Devil, started every single game in his collegiate career. Obviously, all 70-ish games he played over in Cameron Indoor Stadium or for Duke. Obviously, half those games at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Mitchell just dropped 9 in the A&M game, but still, again, a very good score. 19 against Mississippi State, 20 against the South Carolina Gamecocks. In Mitchell's absence, or at least in Mitchell's low-scoring night against Texas A&M, where they needed to have every bucket to win that basketball game, it was Trent Pierce who did more of the scoring. He is 6'10". I don't know how to describe Trent Pierce. He's like a 3 who kind of plays the 2. It's weird. He's like a point forward-ish. Scored 23 points against A&M. He averages 10 per night. If I'm talking about Missouri, I will say something about Jacob Cruz. Jacob Cruz has been a consistent double-digit scorer for them this season for the most part. Recently, though, he's seen his minutes cut in half, and he hasn't been that great. Very experienced player. Played 2 years in North Florida, 1 at UTM, and now 2 seasons here at Mizzou. Again, 5th-year senior. Hasn't been great recently, but non-con wise, he was a consistent double-digit scorer. So obviously you got Mark Mitchell for Missouri. It's Dalen Swain, obviously, for Texas, averaging 17 and 7 this year, is coming off a pretty poor performance in his own last game too, only scoring 7 against Ole Miss, 22 against South Carolina, 30 against Auburn, 26 against Georgia. Swain in his junior season too, of course, with the Musketeers over at Xavier. Now obviously in his first season with the Longhorns. Besides him, of course, you got Matas, their center, averaging 15 and 7. The sophomore out of Lithuania just put up 27 points against the Ole Miss Rebels. Right, he's a Florida Atlantic transfer. I like Mizzou. I like Mizzou at home. I know Texas is capable of scoring a lot of points, and I would consider them to be a higher scoring offense than the Tigers. But recently, though, Missouri has had their fair share of matchups where they've had to play teams where, 85 points is necessary, and Missouri has figured out a way to get it done. But ultimately, to me, this game is bigger than the matchups and the players. It's legitimately about, only, obviously, 68 teams make the NCAA tournament. But obviously, with all the AQs going to the mid-majors, which I'm not complaining about, by the way, I'm the biggest advocate for the mid-majors, especially with the MAC getting 2 teams if Tavari Johnson and Akron find a way to beat Miami of Ohio in the MAC championship game. But anyways, right, there's only so many spots now for these SEC schools. This is a massive game because these are 2 teams that maybe, and there's a very good chance, again, we'll see it, throughout the course of the season. Obviously, still a lot of games left to play in both the SEC regular season and the SEC tournament, but this could come down to legitimately at the end of the year, you're comparing resumes between Texas and Missouri. And okay, we're going to put one of these 2 SEC teams in, and we're going to send them to Dayton. We're not going to take the other one. And there's a chance that the winner of this game rolls into a 10 seed and rolls into potentially maybe even a 9 seed come the NCAA tournament. But there also is a scenario where it's resume versus resume, who are you putting in? That's why this game matters so much. It's a must-win for both teams in a must-win spot, and teams that I believe are fairly even. I'm taking the team at home with Mark Mitchell. I'm going to go with Mitchell and the Hawkeyes to win this basketball game at home. They are plus money to win at home in a must-win bubble game. Tigers money line plus 100. On to our final game of the night. It is a mid-major technically, but I don't really consider either of these teams mid-majors. Obviously, definitely not the Zags, but Zaga goes on the road to the Levy Center in Santa Clara, California to take on the Santa Clara Broncos. The biggest game in the WCC this season, and it's not even close. Massive spot, because the WCC this year is going to send 3 teams into the tournament. St. Mary's has been a little disappointing, I cannot lie. And I'm saying, St. Mary's has been disappointing and they're 22-4, but they kind of have. They got robbed in the Boise game, I understand, and likely St. Mary's is only going to have 5 losses come the NCAA tournament. No, they could, we'll see. Yeah, they could win the WCC. They still have to play Santa Clara and Zaga again, but both those games are in Moraga. Regardless, we kind of know St. Mary's is going to be in the tournament. And trust me, I'm not going to spend that much time on the Gales, but we'll get them out the way right now because we're just talking about the WCC and the elite of the WCC, obviously just being 3 teams. So St. Mary's going to be in the tournament likely. It would take they have to lose to Wazoo to not make the tournament at this point. Santa Clara currently projected to be a 9. They play Villanova in the first round. I'd take the Gales, but that's neither here or there. Currently, Gonzaga, who, isn't that great, projected to be a 4. That's fair because of their loss, obviously, recently. Well, the competitive game they played against Seattle and the loss, obviously, recently to the Portland Pilots, it's warranted. And the fact that they are on definite upset watch tonight, 100%. Santa Clara's got a great chance to beat this team. Zaga currently projected to be a 4, where they would play Portland State in the first round. I would take Portland State to cover. I'm very tempted to just make a bold statement and say Portland State would beat Gonzaga. They probably wouldn't. But I'm telling you, Portland State, they play with confidence, man. That team gets hot. Jalen Henderson, they should win the Big Sky. I hope they do because they have the best chance of winning something in the NCAA tournament. Oh, they play Zaga. That game's going down to the wire. I'll tell you that. I'd probably take Zaga to win, but Portland State, the Vikings, man, they would play tight against Zaga. Trust me. A Pacific Northwest matchup. Yeah, Portland State would play a competitive game. Anyways, so Zaga projected to be a 4. Currently, Santa Clara projected to be an 11, and they are in the last 4 in. Santa Clara would, for now, get to skip Dayton and play North Carolina in the first round. And we don't know if Caleb Wilson's going to be playing the tournament or not. I would take Santa Clara to win. I understand the WCC hasn't had the most success outside of Gonzaga in the tournament recently. I get it. Right now, I'm looking at this and I'm taking St. Mary's. I will hesitantly take Gonzaga and I'm taking Santa Clara all in their first round matchups in the tournament. Anyways, though, Santa Clara, if they lose this game, isn't going to take a massive hit, but obviously they'll probably get bumped to, well, they're kind of on the bubble, but they'll get bumped to Dayton, at least for now, if they don't beat Gonzaga tonight. Santa Clara has done everything, for the most part, everything right this season. They do have 5 losses, and, losing to New Mexico on the road at the Pit, not really concerned about. The ASU loss does suck, and the one that's going to continue to bite them in the ass is Loyola Chicago. If they did not lose to Loyola Chicago, this resume looks great. You went to Xavier and won. You beat Minnesota this season, right? You have some good victories. Obviously, you have already beaten the Gales of St. Mary's at home. They've got some great victories. It's the Loyola Chicago loss, I guess the ASU loss, but really it's the Loyola Chicago one. If you didn't have that, I love this resume for Santa Clara. A 1-point loss to St. Louis, a very competitive game played down in Palm Springs back during Feast Week. I think on Thanksgiving Day that game was, if I'm not mistaken. It's a good resume. A McNeese victory. I know the Cowboys aren't what they used to be, but probably they'll still win their conference this year. Again, we'll just have to wait and see. It's like them in High Point. They just randomly turn up every single year at the end of the season. But anyways, right, Santa Clara has a resume this year. And obviously they played Zaga once. They lost to Zaga on the road by 12 points. They covered. Both Santa Clara and St. Mary's backdoor covered in Spokane. So thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm taking Santa Clara tonight. I think they probably win outright, but I'm going to take them to cover. Obviously, we're getting 4.5 points at home for Santa Clara. I'm very tempted to go to this game myself. I might. I actually might. We'll see. Santa Clara, though, at home at the Levy Center. This is the one game every single year that is packed in Santa Clara, right? Like, I've been to many Santa Clara games, and I've watched this team, lose to North Dakota State last season. I've watched this team play Wazoo, right? Like, I've watched a lot of Santa Clara games at the Levy Center. There's people there, but it's not like the Zaga games. The Zaga games is just a different crowd, and it's usually packed. I assume that's what we're going to get tonight. This is everything for Santa Clara. You beat Gonzaga, and you're probably in the tournament. Let's just be honest. Santa Clara can win this game and lose to St. Mary's and Moraga in a couple weeks, and it wouldn't really matter. Guys, there's only 4 more regular season games for Santa Clara. Zaga's got 5, including this one. Santa Clara's got 4, including this one. Santa Clara wins tonight, they're in the tournament. That's the truth. They win tonight, they're in the tournament, as long as they go to USF and beat San Francisco, which I'm expecting them to do, the way San Francisco has fallen off an absolute cliff recently. San Francisco, man, just lost to Oregon State at home by 27 points. What is going on with that team? They're awful. You know what broke them, by the way? The loss at LMU broke San Francisco. That rigged-ass loss at LMU just completely decimated that basketball team. But Santa Clara wins tonight, they're probably in. As long as you beat San Francisco on the road and you beat Oregon State at home, you're in the tournament. It doesn't matter. If they lose to St. Mary's, it doesn't matter. They'll be in. And the way the WCC tournament is slotted and seeded, Santa Clara, if they win this game and lose to St. Mary's, though, it's going to be a 3-way tie. For first place in the WCC, I don't know what the tiebreaker is going to be. Well, let's say St. Mary's beats Zaga, though. Oh, wait, no. Someone's got to lose between Zaga and St. Mary's because St. Mary's has already lost. No, they lost to both these guys, too. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Wait, because Santa Clara could have 2, Zaga could have 2, Mary's would have 2. No, Mary's and Zaga. No, I think this is going to be fine. Yeah. If Santa Clara wins tonight, they're guaranteed to be in that final 2 in the WCC tournament because obviously it's like the Sun Belt where if you're the last place team, you got to win 8 straight times to win the WCC. So Santa Clara will get a bye into the semifinals if they win tonight and obviously just take care of business in every game not named St. Mary's. I think they do it. I really think they do it. At home, this is a massive spot, and Zaga is so beatable. I've been saying it all year long. This is not some dominant Gonzaga squad that we've seen over the years. Obviously, Braden Huff being out is massive. Last game he played was that first matchup in Spokane against Santa Clara. And sure, Graham Ike has done a lot of heavy lifting since he's returned, 100%. But they lost to Portland with Graham Ike. Ike's great. The rest of the squad I'm not too impressed with. Yes, Tylen Grant-Foster, very experienced college basketball player, but I mean, put up 5 points in their last game against Wazoo in only 20 minutes. I don't know. There's not much else to be excited about with this team. But Braden Smith plays minutes. He doesn't score. He's a Ryan Nembhard 2.0, but not as good. I like Santa Clara a lot. I think this team goes out here and wins this basketball game, but I'll take the 4.5 again. Christian Hammond, Elijah Mahi, Alan Graves. What this team has done, it's Santa Clara. What they've built here. They are one of the few mid-majors, if you count Santa Clara as a mid-major, that actually gets guys to buy in. By the way, the play of Alan Graves recently, 30 points against Wazoo in 25 minutes. My goodness. The play of this team and just the way that they've built their program, you get guys to commit for 4 seasons. or at least until their senior year where they transfer out like Christoph Tilly going to Ohio State, or obviously they graduate like Adama Alpha Ball, who just graduated as a senior last year. That's what Santa Clara gets. Like that's the program they have built here. We are really looking at three powerhouses in the WCC, obviously Gonzaga, Santa Clara, and St. Mary's, but with Zaga leaving and going to the Pac-12, Santa Clara is going to step up as St. Mary's new rival. And it's a damn shame Zaga and St. Mary's aren't going to play every single year. Hell, even Zaga and Santa Clara every single year anymore, but that's what money does over at the Pac-12. I would argue the Pac-12 just needs to take Santa Clara and St. Mary's too. And I guess if you want to make it even, take USF as well, I guess. But especially take Santa Clara and St. Mary's. But I get it. The WCC would have absolutely nothing without these three teams, and we'd be looking at, I don't know, a WCC championship game of the Pacific, the UAP Tigers taking on, I don't know, that Oregon State next season. So you can't have that. But this is big-time hoops in the WCC, and I'm absolutely taking Santa Clara. Let's not forget, Santa Clara did beat Zaga once last year. They actually beat him in Spokane, as Zaga won the rematch over in Santa Clara. But I'm gonna go with the Broncos. I think Zaga is massively overrated. We've been calling for it all year long. This team's not as good as they usually are, and with no Braden Huff, right, and just Graham Ike, they are so beatable. And Santa Clara is going to do exactly that tonight. Santa Clara, in my opinion, wins the game outright, but we are being given 4.5 points, just like the Kansas spot early in the day, too. Like, I think they should win outright, but if I'm getting points, I will take it. Give me the Broncos at home, Santa Clara, plus 4.5 against the Gonzaga Bulldogs from the Levy Center in the Bay Area. Folks, that'll do it for our college basketball best bets here on February 14th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video, and make sure to comment if you did disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets, and make sure to join us later today for our All-Star Saturday night best bets, of course, with the NBA as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more, and Mamba forever.